Hi everybody, this is Dr. T.Sripathy, Department of Electronic Media, Bangalore University. ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಾನು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ T.Sripathy, Department of Electronic Media, Bangalore University. Today I will be talking about a radio studio. Radio studio is very important for making radio programs, and we will be talking about all the areas of radio studio and its technicalities. Friends, a radio studio is a place for live broadcast or record audio professionally. Various programs are recorded in radio studio acoustically without any ambient disturbances. Often it is a soundproofed room which gets rid unwanted noises that would often get mixed into broadcast. The moment one mentions the word radio studio, you may think a good sound. You may also think a photo studio, which most of you are familiar for taking photographs, a film studio where film shootings are taken place. It is certain conditions suitable for taking photographs. Friends, a radio studio normally will have one heavy door where outside sound is arrested there. And before we enters the room, there is a small enclosed place which has another heavy door with the empty space is called sound lock, which prevents unnecessarily outside sounds entering the studio. Note that we have used the term unnecessarily outside sounds. These sounds are called ambient sound, which normally have high frequency where our recorders records that and it unnecessarily disturbs the radio programs. Suppose we record the sound in an ordinary classroom or office room or in a drawing room. The result, you would hear the traffic noise from outside or sounds from old fan of the ceilings, and you will also hear the birds chirping or dogs barking. Suppose you tune into favorite radio program and you listen to all these noises. To avoid this, a good designed radio studio will only record the sound. A studio is so designed without any interference to ensure that outside noises are not recorded and you hear the voice speakers clearly. For this, besides the sound lock and heavy doors, you will find the ceiling walls perforated with acoustic panels or even woolen panels. Of course, the studio is nice and cool with proper air conditioning.
Our live studio is completely state of the art and it contains all the equipment that we need to do a professional broadcast. Now, the hub of any studio is your mixing desk, and in this case, we're using the Akka IQ. It's an 8-channel mixer and it has 4 microphone inputs, so if you're managing multiple guests, it's really easy to use. The Akka runs audio over IP, so this means that nothing's directly connected to the mixer itself, but instead everything's actually plugged in to the mix engine. And compared to a lot of mixers out there, it's actually really customizable, so you can pretty much assign any device to any source. Overall, the Akka is a really versatile desk, so if you're looking for a professional mixer that can be customized to your station's needs, then you can't really go wrong with the IQ. The microphone that MCR Live use in their studio setup is the Electro-Voice RE320. It's pretty much used as standard in the radio and broadcasting industry, and it's a dynamic mic, so it cancels out background noise and gives your voice a warm, rich sound. And we're using this mic with the Electro-Voice 309A shock mount, and it's attached to the Rode PSA1 boom arm. MCR Live use the Beyerdynamic DT770 Pros. They're a personal favourite of mine, and they're also probably one of the best sets of headphones on the market. They keep outside noise to a minimum, and the level of detail they provide is pretty much second to none. Now, to power their studio, MCR Live use a custom-built PC that runs Windows 10. It's got a 4th generation Intel i3 processor with a 240GB SSD and 8GB of RAM. So it's fair to say it's a pretty fast machine. It's housed in the Silencio 452 case, which is actually used to minimise noise. And then for ease of use, the guys at MCR Live use it with an Acer touchscreen. And then lastly, we use the following cables to connect all of these different pieces of equipment together. So we now have our professional studio set up. Our microphone is connected to our processor, which is connected to our mixing desk, which is then being fed through our mix engine to our computer and played out on radio.co. Radio.co is an all-in-one platform for modern broadcasters. It provides us with everything we need in order to host and manage our radio station completely from the cloud.
Friends, a radio studio will basically have 3 components. Number 1 is studio for live broadcast or recording the programs for later broadcast. Second one, a transmitter to convert the programs into high frequency for transmission. And third component is towers with antenna for broadcasting. The basic departments in a radio stations includes a administrative department, program department, news and current affairs department, engineering department, accounts department and commercial departments. Overall, the radio stations will have a combination of the technical and administration and marketing departments for the smooth functioning of a radio studio. Friends, we can categorize radio studio into 5. One is self-operated studio. Self-operated studio is a small in nature where the radio presenters runs the program. In another way saying, the presenter operates the equipment such as a mixer and other related equipments. Most of the commercial studios favor this setup, and the guest co-presenters and producers will be available in the same room. The second category is a studio technician or a audio engineer assisted broadcasting. In this case, a tech operated studio, the technician or producers they control the programming from a second room called control room. A soundproofed glass will be separate 2 rooms, and the producer communicates to the presenters through the talkback system by seeing the see-through glass. The third category of studio is on-air studio. On-air studio room is used by the presenters when broadcasting of live shows. It may be self-operated. In the case it hosts equipment such as on-air computer, CD players, mixers, microphones, boom arms, etc. One of its basic elements is broadcasting desk. We will have a independent console to operate all this hardware and software and broadcasting. It should be sturdy and spacious to accommodate the audio equipment, computer, guest, co-presenters, etc. The next category is the production studio. The production studio is designated for production work. In a sense, it deals with the content, not for live. For instance, producing commercials, jingles, promos, news teasers, etc. The production PC is the most prominent gear in the studio. You will find headphones, monitoring speakers, etc. In large radio stations, the production studio may be stocked with a similar equipment found in on-air studios. Then it acts as backup. The next is announcer's booth and performance studio. The primary functions of an announcer's booth or a performance studio is to record the vocal or instrument sounds for the pre-recorded shows on radio programs. It is usually equipped with the microphones, headphones, and most announcers' booths are smaller than production studio or on-air studios. But this may not be the case of all stations. For instance, some stations invite music bands to perform at the studio. They may also invite a small audience to watch the performance. Recording studios generally consist 3 or more rooms. The live rooms of studio where instrumentalists play their instruments with their playing and picked up by microphones by connecting the instruments outputs to consoles for mixing and taking the output. Isolation booths are small sound insulated rooms with the doors designed instrumentalist. Vocal booths are similar designed rooms for singers. In both rooms, there are typically windows so the performers can see the other band members through see-through glass and other technicians. The control room, where the audio engineers and recording producers mix the mic and instrument signals with a mixing console, record onto the tape, listen to the recordings and tracks with the monitor speakers or headphones, and manipulate the tracks by adjusting the mixing console settings by using the faders. The machine room, where the noiser equipment such as racks, fan computers and power amplifiers is kept to prevent the noise for the recording floor. Friends, next we will discuss about the most important component, that is acoustics in radio studio. The radio studio need to have the acoustics designed from the start, as it is the fundamental to use such rooms. Unlike most of rooms, special professional attention is required, and it is important to get our acoustic engineers involved in initial designs. There have been many cases of such rooms being built relying on the engineer's advice, and problems with the acoustics have arisen, leading to expensive and time consuming rectification. The care must be taken with the flanking sound transmission paths, which can be weaken overall sound reduction of constructions. The doors are critical in such situations, and 44 decibels of door acoustics set should be used to minimize the sound transmission rather than widely used 30 decibels door sets, which are not adequate.
A dedicated studio built from the ground up for sound is probably going to have acoustic treatment built into the room as it's being constructed. However, many people look to convert existing rooms into home theaters, studios, or listening rooms. Maybe you've got a spare bedroom you want to convert, or a finished part of your basement that you want to use as a listening room. A lot of these rooms that people convert tend to be on the smaller size, and a smaller room is going to give you more issues as the reflections are going to be closer together and louder. That means you're going to get more peaks and nulls in your frequency response as certain sounds build up and cancel each other out within the room. Sound waves, like all waves, have peaks and troughs. When two waves interact, the respective peaks and troughs can combine depending on the phase of the wave. If two sound waves are exactly the same but one is 180 degrees out of phase of the other, then they cancel each other out in what's called phase cancellation. So an in-phase sound will cause a peak or a buildup, whereas an out-of-phase sound will cause a null or a cancellation. This is where you get the nasty peaks and nulls from all of the reflections in your room that can make it hard to judge what you're actually listening to. Most of the issues you're likely to have are going to be in your lower frequencies, because bass tones tend to have longer decay times, which means they're going to reflect more and build up in the room more, causing more peaks and nulls. This is why it's always a great first step to treat your first reflections and corners with thick absorption. We usually recommend between 2 and 6 inches of absorption in these areas. Absorption is such a great tool because it actually eliminates sound by converting sound energy into a minuscule amount of heat energy. This eliminates the sound altogether, preventing it from reflecting and creating those peaks and nulls. Have you ever noticed that bass instruments tend to be larger than most other instruments? Just in the same way that you need a larger instrument to create a lower tone, you need a thick panel in order to absorb it. The wavelength is physically larger. Thick broadband panels like the 244, Monster, Soffit, or Tri-Trap should make up the bulk of your low-end treatment strategy. Remember, the thicker the panel, the lower the effective range of absorption. But if you're looking for a more fine-tuned bass response, there are other patented GIK technologies that can help you. Our range limiters can help absorb more in the low end without impeding or over-absorbing that treble or high range. And our Scopus-tuned bass traps can help you eliminate resonances at specific frequencies after you've done a bulk of your treatment. The other method we have for room treatment is diffusion. Unlike absorption, the purpose of diffusion is to scatter the sound throughout the room evenly in all directions. When sound hits a flat surface, it reflects off at the opposite angle just like light off of a mirror. If we take an acoustically reflective surface like wood, we can create a panel that has ridges, valleys, and mountains in it that will bounce the sound around and scatter it in all directions. There are other ways to create diffusion besides reflection, both with GIK's dedicated diffusers and with our hybrid devices that have both absorption, diffusion, and bass trapping built all in one. Diffusion can help with your frequency response by scattering sound around the room evenly. Diffusion also has the added benefit as it can change the natural characteristics of a room. It can make some rooms sound larger and can be very useful when overabsorption makes a room sound dead. Great sound in a small space is all about balance. You need great bass response with a neutral overall character. A well-treated production space should make your job easier to do faster with less frustrations and give you a better overall result. GIK Acoustics has a wide range of products that are both effective and affordable for achieving these goals. Be sure to reach out to us or fill out our free acoustic advice form and we'll make sure you get the very best sounding room for your space and budget. Get free acoustic advice. Visit gikacoustics.com for educational articles and tutorials.
Friends, the last component what we discuss is that is the hardware and the equipments for recording sound. Depending on whether you are recording a audio in a studio or the field, you require 4 basic pieces of equipment. One is microphone, second one an audio recorder, third one a pair of headphones and an audio mixer. If you are recording in studio, the audio recorder is usually replaced with a computer capable of recording audio directly into a software recorder. Let us look at this in a greater detail. Number 1, microphone. The microphone is basically a transducer that converts sounds into electrical waves. The electrical waves can be either amplified using loudspeakers or recorded and stored. The microphones are either bulletin as in computers, telephones, mobile phones or freestanding devices like those you use in an auditorium or in studio. They come in various sizes and shapes. It must be remembered that no one microphone serves all the purposes. In fact, it is the purpose that decides what kind of microphone one should use. Next is audio recorder. An audio recorder is a device that records electrical signals emerging from a microphone as audio files. These audio files can be electronically moved from one device to another. For instance, a computer and edited. There are several types of audio recorders in the market, some easy to use, some economical, and some that combines characteristics addition to being robust. Next is headphones. Headphones are devices that are used to listen to the audio signals being played back or by a playback device. In some ways, they are comparable to a small pair of speakers mounted on a band that can be worn over the head. Headphones are usually useful when you want to listen audio without disturbing others around you. Next is audio mixer. An audio mixer is a device that helps connect multiple audio sources to a recorder, while also helping you to refine and improve the quality of sound. Mixers are often used individually, control the sound from each source independently in order to achieve a good balance between the various sources. A computer, for the purpose of audio recording and editing, the computers we use are called digital audio workstations. I'll repeat again, digital audio workstations. They are different from computers we do use day-to-day office work or internet browsing. These computers are more powerful and also have variety of audio inputs and outputs. Most will also have a sound card, which is a device that can convert analog signals to digital audio. Some may be designed to work with the specific hardware that can be connected to them to record and edit the audio files. Friends, in this lecture, I'll also be including some of the video clips where you can have an opportunity to studio the infrastructure of various types of studios and understand the working of the radio studios.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. If I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me, lose my mind. Imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together. I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life. When you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my life. Me and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you, and you for me, so happy together. I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life. When you're with me, baby, the skies will be blue for all my life. Me and me, no matter how they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you, and you for me, so happy together. How they toss the dice, it had to be. The only one for me is you, and you for me, so happy together. So happy together. And how is the weather? So happy together. We're happy together. So happy together.
There you go, Turtles and Happy Together. Good afternoon, I'm Nick Piercy. Wednesday is here. On the show, we have somebody who spent years on Capitol Hill and in Washington. He was Chief of Staff in the House of Representatives. He's here, actually, because he's written a book called The First Gentleman, which tells the fictitious story of a female president. Does that ring true? We'll speak to Gerald Weaver a little later on. Scientist Renee Watson is in the studio talking about an experiment you could do at home to impress the kids. And we have the Hollies, Art Garfunkel, and also Chicago as we have the eyes on the A to Z of #1 hits.
Oxfordshire News.
Oxfordshire Life.
On 95.2 FM, online and on digital.
This is BBC Radio Oxford.
Radio for Oxfordshire.
Good afternoon, now 1 o'clock with the BBC News for Oxfordshire. Phil Mercer.
A man has been arrested following a...
Friends, to conclude, writing radio programs or selecting the formats and other content is one side is most important, and second part is you need to have a right hardware and software to record that programs where audio should be recorded faithfully with all sound effects, and the listener expects a clear sound of the creative content. Friends, in this lecture we covered some of the technical areas of sound studio and video clips to get benefited for the viewers. Thank you very much. Namaskar.